Well, my name is Joe Ward, and the last time I was on this stage, I was running for mayor. And now, over the course of 192 days, I'm running in 3 elections. And some people have got to be thinking, this guy gets beat down, he keeps getting back up, when is he going to stop trying? And that's exactly what I want the folks in Ottawa to think when I start knocking on doors and persistently asking for things. Simultaneously believe that we have to vote for parties while also being dissatisfied with them. I think an independent voice that shows my resilience can be fantastic in Ottawa because I won't stop knocking on doors. And I just want to pose the question to Mike and Anna. There's a huge amount of money that comes into this province that is supposed to be distributed to the municipalities, and I'd like to know why they haven't responded to the Nova Scotians for Equalization Fairness on their position. Money. We have to make sure when $3.6 billion comes to Nova Scotia that it makes it to the municipalities where it's supposed to be spent. The polling is showing that the Liberal government is most likely to win this election. With that in mind, do not fear casting a vote for an independent. If we are not going to decide the election in this riding, then you have an opportunity for a local voice, and I will keep whichever prime minister in check. I will speak the voice of Cape Breton people. I'm not a common sense conservative, I'm a common sense Cape Bretoner. When can you remember Cape Breton or the CBRM doing well? Since the 1960s, we've been in decline, and when our population finally upticks, it causes a housing crisis locally. I bet you every party that was in power since then would tell you they did a good job and that they were fighting for us. Why don't we give independence a try so I can hold any party in power to check? Donald Trump and Elon Musk are absolute fill-in-the-blank. The 51st state stuff, we don't really have to worry about it. I'll tell you why. He likes to get a reaction. If there's one thing he's good at doing, it's getting a reaction, okay? We do have to worry about the tariffs. But another great thing about Donald Trump is that he's volatile. And right now he's harming his own people in the United States. He's tanking his own stock market. He's putting pressure on his own people. What's gonna happen is he's gonna be a huge success and he's gonna try to save face and start to calm things down. So we just need to take a steady reaction to him, calm things down, and don't get too volatile, because if we lob things at him, a volatile person will react in a volatile way. When we talk about an extra $5,000, we're talking about a national platform. We're reading the party's platform. We're promoting the party's platform. We have to think about the Cape Bretoners who live here. We have to, even if our candidates represent a party, we need them to talk about the local situation, not what Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney want them to say. Let's get back at home and put the focus where it's supposed to be.
Mike Callaway.
We're not going to have a moratorium on immigration. You know, Canada accepts people from multiple cultures, but there is a problem with the last government. We let too many people in too quickly without the infrastructure ready. The leading cause of unaffordability everywhere now is housing. And we see it on a local level, which we have to keep thinking about as well, with the number of students that came into CBU too quickly, driving the local rates up. We're already a poor economy here. So people really, really are struggling at this point because of that. So we have to make sure that we keep those levels at a sustainable level for the university to do well, but also to make sure that the people that are here, including the students that come themselves, can afford to live here, and we can have affordability on a local level. And one final note, when we have a pot of money that's supposed to come here, we need to make sure that it gets here. You know, the policy for carbon tax actually had a good motive behind it, but whether or not the policy works ultimately doesn't matter when Canadians don't want it. And it's probably a policy that probably toppled Justin Trudeau. We obviously have to invest in cleaner technology, but I want to take it back to a local perspective. When we talk about doing windmills offshore Sydney, in the Sydney Bight, we also have to make sure that we're recognizing the needs and the concerns of the fisheries and make sure that when we do that, we do it in a responsible way. And with something like Bill C-69, we don't want to eliminate it completely and tear it up. We just have to make it more efficient so that any type of natural resource we're developing, we're doing it responsibly. It's going to be a transitionary economy. We can't do frack, baby, frack, and we can't do net zero in 30 days. Like, there's going to be a transition period. We have to keep that in perspective, so it shouldn't just be all of one or the other. So I was in Halifax 2 weeks ago, and I see that Halifax looks like it's becoming Toronto right now. When you compare the two municipalities, you see there's a big gap. We talk about equalization. I think sometimes people maybe misunderstand it, but there's actually something we can do. I don't like that the party representatives feel powerless to it. I can go to the Department of Finance in Ottawa and knock on a door, and I can do something without legislative change. I go in and I say, take that massive spreadsheet that you have every year that you calculate how much comes to Nova Scotia, and do me one favor. Send a letter to every municipality in the country, but certainly in Nova Scotia, that tells them how much of that pot of money that comes to Nova Scotia was generated by your municipality. Now, Cecil Clark and the CBRM would have a document that has authority from the Department of Finance that would tell them how much they're entitled to, and they can go to Tim Houston and negotiate and say, we're supposed to get this, but it doesn't look like it. What can you do for us? I'm just wondering, when these guys are out knocking on all these doors, how many of the doors are on $1.3 million homes? Fiscal conservative? Let's focus the cuts on where they need to be.
Yep.
Exactly, it's up to. We have to be more precise, especially want to be fiscal conservatives. Listen, when Pierre Poilievre has axe the tax and do this and all these three-word slogans, you know, he says stuff like, for every dollar we spend, we're going to cut two. Like, come on, give me the details on that. I don't trust him to put us in a better position and take care of the people that are struggling in the CBRM, not one bit.
All right,
I at least aspire to believe that most Canadians support immigration. The question is just timing and capacity. We don't want to bring people to Canada when we don't have the infrastructure in place for them, because it's not only our hardships, it's their hardships as well. They inherit them. So we do have to make sure that the national levels are set, that they're strategic about that we bring in people that we need to help expand our economy, and we bring in more when we're able to do so. And that includes at the local university. Scaling back enrollment was important. We had to make sure that the university is sustainable, but we also have to make sure that the community is sustainable. And for a long time, there was a question of whether or not the CBRM was sustainable at all. A very, very long time. The pressure here hurts worse than it does in other places in Canada that are performing better. Immigration is an essential thing for our economy. It's something we want to do. We're a multicultural country. It is entirely about timing and capacity. If we can accelerate building the housing infrastructure that we need, then we can bring more people in. We don't want to create hardships for Canadians or Canadian residents, and we don't want to create hardships for new Canadian residents that are coming in. We have to be prepared.
1 minute. Keep in mind.
We cannot rely on large government infrastructure projects to power this economy, because they come and go and the economic indicators wave with them. Sustainable development needs to happen, but we can turn a problem into a solution. We need housing, we need to develop it, but there's a hurdle that's holding developers back, and I've talked to some of the biggest ones in Atlantic Canada. The tax rates are sending the developers to Halifax. When you guys go to Costco the next time, look around. It's developing at a monumental rate. It's just extraordinary to see how they develop and how we lag. Jobs will be created if we can not have the highest property tax rates in the entire country, really. When they drop, the developers will come here. I've asked them, and when the developers come here, they create jobs. That's economic development, folks. The equalization program is actually designed to eliminate itself from the receiving provinces. Do you know what that requires? It requires our economies to perform better, and to do that, the investment has to be fairly distributed. And just one quick note, in terms of industrial development, the tar ponds are over there. They're buried in concrete underneath the park. We have to be careful about how we approach industrial development. It's not that we shouldn't pursue it, but let's not just be too quick about it.
No.
And we do have federal money coming in here that isn't handouts. We have federal agencies that are operating here. We want to make sure that they're not doing layoffs like they did recently, and I would prefer that people that work at Citizenship that want to work full-time get a full-time job, and that we're not sharing jobs. I think my vision is much less complex than all that. No, really, it should be straightforward. There's the ability to have growth and prosperity here, and there's some economic levers that get in our way. You know, if you can make homes affordable to build and you can make the environment good for builders to actually want to do that, jobs can happen, affordability at home can be better, and we can move forward like that. Smaller goals can be achieved, and I just get frustrated sometimes to see how easy it would be with a fair distribution of resources to us that we could immediately improve overnight and see these things start to happen. Super frustrating for me, but I believe it could happen. And some people may think an independent can't win. Well, I've got 9,400 votes that came with me for the mayoral race. Give me another 1,000 and I'll win this election. That's all I need. That's what the math says. So if you want to make history, you want to tip this upside down and, you know, let these guys know that it's not all about their party leaders, vote for me. Can you guys see now why I wanted to keep things practical? Anna says X attacks. I'm saying send us the equalization money. We can fix things. I don't know. I think I lost my train of thought at death spiral, but basically, I know this is a federal election and we have to address federal issues, of course, but a candidate represents a riding, and a riding is here, and I never want to lose sight of that for any candidate. If they're successful, go forward. Don't forget about us. Don't just say Pierre's lines or Mark's lines. Remember us.